Today, we are going to be comparing Make.com to N8N, all while building out a real automation. Now, if you're a beginner new to AI automations, this is a great place to start. If you are a business owner, every single person I know who's a business owner needs an automation like this. So I want to basically use this automation to compare Make.com to N8N and which is better. I know a lot of people are scared to make the transition from Make to N8N. And I'm here to tell you that it is not that scary. So this automation basically is a onboarding email sequence, right? So when a client pays you, they're a new client. They've just paid you for the first invoice. You're excited to work with them. They're excited to work with you. This automation basically kicks off and sends them two emails. Thank you email, and then a few minutes later, a onboarding and next steps email. And this will set you apart from your competition. It creates a personalized touch. It already starts building that relationship with your client. It shows that within the first, I have 4 and 3 minutes apart. Within the first 7 minutes, you've already thought about them twice. You know exactly what their needs are, and you're the perfect person to work with them. So this is a really, really powerful automation. So I am putting together a series of these automations. Cold outreach. This first, cold outreach, how do we find clients, right? And then from there, a proposal, right? After you've met with them and you've kind of talked through what their needs are, you generate a proposal and it automatically sends to them. And then once they've booked with you and paid this invoice, this paid email invoice sequence. So basically to take you from no leads to a full working client and a full working relationship. And so I just want to check the stream real quick because I have had a couple of instances where my screen is no longer showing. Okay, great. Perfect. So we're good to go. So today what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be rebuilding this automation inside of N8N to basically show you what's the same and what's different, right? So let me walk you through how this works, and then we're going to start building it together step by step from scratch, all inside of N8N. If you are interested in AI and automations, I do have a SKOOL community. Feel free to join this. Hop right in. I'll leave a link in the description where you can get started. So basically, the way this is working is this takes a Stripe trigger. And here I've just kind of set a couple variables, but this represents Stripe. And I'm just doing it this way because I didn't want to have to send myself an invoice every single time. And so basically what this is doing is this is just watching for incoming payments, right? And I'll show you how to get set up with Stripe inside of N8N. And it's doing a couple things. It's taking the client full name, here in our case, Brian Johnson, and it's taking the email. And I think probably if you're working with Stripe, you're going to get a couple other things like, the invoice number and the date and like a whole bunch of other things. We're not super worried about that currently, but I just want to know that those are in there. I basically just wanted to set this. And here, what we're doing is we're just setting the client's name and we're just pulling out their first name. We're waiting 4 minutes. So basically we're going to send them an email 4 minutes after they've made a payment because we don't want it to seem like a robot. We want it to seem like you actually took a second, you thought about it, and you sent them back an email. Then it sends them this thank you email, right? It goes to the client's email address. It says, thank you and welcome aboard. It's in HTML format. And then we have this email to, hi, your client. Thanks for taking care of that invoice so promptly. I'm really looking forward to working together and I'm confident we can nail this for you. I'll send you some onboarding instructions plus a calendar in a moment, and we can then book a call to kick off the project. And then we wait a few more minutes and we send them another email that basically just says something like, scoot this over, just following up on my last email. Our next step is booking an onboarding call. Here's a little more information for the client. And then here we basically just have a link to our calendar where the client can just book a call. And then so basically this automation just sends this off to the client a couple minutes apart. And so I want to be able to package this up and make this exact same sequence inside of N8N. So let's go ahead and let's get started building this inside of N8N. So the first thing we need is the Stripe trigger, right? And I'm going to show you basically how we can set this up, although I'm going to set these variables myself in a second. So I'm just going to show you how easy it is to port things over from Make into N8N. And so really a lot of the concepts are the same. It's just, finding things that are in slightly different places. I compare Make and N8N, like comparing Apple to Android. Basically, Make is really easy. It's beginner friendly. It's clear how to use. But I think N8N in the end is a little bit more powerful and a little bit more robust, but there is like a little bit of a steeper learning curve. But my goal is to always teach you concepts so that you basically understand how to build these systems and why they work the way they do, how to design them, the logic behind them. So that way it doesn't matter which platform that you're in. It's really about wherever you feel the most comfortable, you're able to get the results that you want. So we can come in here and we can scroll all the way down. There's like 149 triggers. But what you're going to do is you're going to do on invoice payment succeeded, right? And so this is going to be, when your client has paid you. And we don't currently have I set this up earlier, but say we don't currently have a credential, right? We would just come down here and we need to connect this to our Stripe account. I use Stripe for payments. I don't know what you use, but essentially I just want to show you the steps here for Stripe, and it will work largely similar for whatever your payment processor is. So we come over to Stripe, and I'm just in the settings here. And if you just search for API, you can go to the API keys here. And what we want to do is we just want to create a secret key. And I went through this once already, and I didn't know which one of these to pick at first, but it's building your own integration. Here we go. And so we just go ahead and click yes, and we basically sign in with our passkey, and I'll just call this N8N YouTube demo. Go ahead and click create, and we're going to get a new secret key, and I'm going to copy this to the clipboard. If we come back into N8N, all you have to do is just paste this in here. We basically have a new credential set up. You can see credential successfully succeeded and it's tested. Great. And pro tip, literally just found out about this. If you want to rename your credentials, especially if you're working with clients and you have credentials for them and you and other clients, like this is super, super helpful. So I'm just going to call this Stripe, YouTube demo. Right. So I literally just found out that you could rename these up here. I had no idea for like the longest time, and it was driving me crazy because I would come into, this list of credentials here, and it would be like Stripe number 1, Stripe number 2, Stripe number 3. Anyway, super annoying. So this is basically how we have everything set up. And I'm, again, going to check this because now I'm neurotic. I've done this 2 times where I've stopped sharing my screen. Okay. So basically, this is all set up. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to swap this out just for a set node. So if you can come into the plus and you can, search for new triggers or things like that, you can also hit tab on your keyboard if you just want to bring up this menu. And I can just type in set, and this is this edit fields module here. And so what I'm going to do is there's a couple things I'm going to set. So we're going to say client full name, and we're just going to name him Brian Johnson. And so this is just supposed to represent like what would be coming in from Stripe, right? And then I'm going to say client email. And the reason I do this way is basically, again, I said Stripe is going to give you your client's full name, their email, but invoice number, date, like their address. Like there's probably going to be a whole bunch of information in there, and you want to just be able to like pull things out really easily. So JOHNSON, spell that wrong. And I like using b.johnson@fakecompany.com. So we can add another field, and like if we want, we can say like invoice number, and we can just call this 5, and then we can say like date, and we can use this cool little expression and just type in now. And basically we just have the current date and time. And so this is just to represent like the Stripe trigger. So I'm just going to delete the actual Stripe trigger. We don't need it. What we do need is we need a manual trigger so that we can kick off this automation here. Every automation needs a trigger. So this represents the Stripe trigger, and we'll just name it as such, Stripe trigger. Great. And if we run this through, you can see what we've done is basically we're just going to pull out that little bit of information, right? So if you are new to N8N, this is basically how the system works. You have inputs, you have the properties for the node that you're currently working on, and you have the outputs from this specific node, right? So this is coming out of the Stripe trigger, right? We can see we have the full name, the email, the invoice number, and the date. And then on the input side, this is everything coming from earlier in the flow. And I'll show this again. You'll see this a bunch. We don't have anything because it's just the trigger, right? And then again here, this is where you update the settings for that particular node. Great. So this is working as we want it to. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click the plus, and I want another set field. And what do I want to set? Well, I'm going to take the full name, and I'll drop that in there. And all I want is the full name and the email. So if I click test step now, you can see, again, we have these inputs. We have the fields, the properties that we're editing. We have the output. So now we're just outputting the full name and the client email. But what I want actually is I actually want just the client's first name. So I'm just going to show you really quickly how I would use ChatGPT in this case to help me with like a little bit of expression writing, because I don't always remember, even though something like this, it's fairly simple. Like it's hard to keep track of. So the reason I'm doing this is I just want to pull out Brian, right? Because if I'm writing an email to my client, Brian Johnson, I'm not going to say, hey, Brian Johnson, like I'm going to say, hey, Brian. So I want to just be able to pull out his first name. And so instead of full name, I'll say first name. And now I can come into like ChatGPT. I can say, I have this N8N expression, and I need to extract just the client's first name. So let's see what this is going to give me, right? And so basically what this is doing, great. So this is giving me the JSON. The client is taking the client full name and it's splitting it at the space, right? These two quotation marks represent a space, and then it's getting index 0. So if we have Brian Johnson, the first index is always 0. So the first thing is always 0. So that's Brian. The second one is going to be Johnson. So it's splitting the full name at the space, and it's just giving us back the first item. So if I paste this in here now, you can see now we've just extracted Brian. And if I change this to 1, you can see now I've extracted Johnson. I just want the first name. I'm not going to call him Johnson. If that's your thing, feel free. Great. So can save this, and let's refer back to our make.com workflow. So really everything up to the front has really been largely the same, right? And that's going to continue here. Like we're not doing a lot of AI processing. We're not doing a whole bunch of like extra work here. We're basically just using some basic automation nodes inside of this. This isn't an AI agent. This isn't anything complicated. We're really just using a very simple processing flow. So the next thing in the sequence is this wait 4 minutes sleep timer. And that's the same in both of these situations. So we can just go ahead. Oh, shout out Darren Mullen. Join the community. Appreciate you, man. That's awesome. Thank you. Cool. So we just have this wait node, right? And, you can set this up. I'll just leave this for 5 seconds, for the sake of the stream right now, right? But you can change this to minutes, and you can change this to wait 4 minutes. We don't need to wait 4 minutes. I'm just going to wait 5 seconds. Great. And so what we're doing is we're basically running this through. We're kind of pulling, a new invoice comes in, right? It triggers automatically. When you're ready to set this scenario live to always be watching for new events, you're just going to come up to this trigger. We don't have, if the Stripe trigger was in there, which is like an active trigger, like we would just switch this toggle to active. Since we don't have it, we can't do it, but that's okay. Once you're ready just to have this live, just switch the toggle. We're pulling the information in from Stripe. We're setting the fields, and we can just say like set client data. We're waiting 4 minutes, in our case, 5 seconds, and then we're going to send the first email. So all we're going to do is come in here, and we're going to type in Gmail. And I'm not going to show you how to set up Gmail. There's lots of documentation and videos on that, although I probably should create one for this. And what I'm going to do in my case is I'm just going to create a draft. In your case, what you would want to do is you'd actually want to do send a message. So it actually just sends the message directly to the client without you having to go into your drafts folder. But the setup is largely the same. I'm just going to create a draft so that way I'm not sending messages to B Johnson who doesn't exist. Great. So let's refer back to this thank you email. And so we have the client email, and we're just calling this thank you and welcome aboard. So really, again, this is largely the same. Like there is nothing to be afraid of here. We're just going to go thank you and welcome aboard. Great. I'm going to switch the email type from text to HTML. And I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to copy all of this HTML over. And I'm going to go to expression, and we can open this up bigger so y'all can see. We can see here. Okay, so we have the input. We have hi, client's first name, and we can see this is in red, and this says to. This is not a function. Well, why isn't this a function? Because this is coming from make.com. This is not how N8N reads this, right? So I'm just going to delete this, but what I am going to do is I'm just going to pull in the client first name. We can just drag this in here. Great. This is not what we wanted to see either. Client first name, set client data. Should just be Brian. Let me see what happens if I just run this through once. There should only be one item. So never know why you have these issues. Sometimes things get weird. Great. Okay. Cool. Not sure why that was happening. Doesn't matter. Great. This fixed it. Sometimes you just need to pull the new information in. So hi, set client data, first name. So we just drag this in. Hi, Brian. And you can see this is the output here, right? So input, expression, result. Says it at the top. Thanks for taking care of that invoice so promptly. I'm really looking forward to working together, and I'm confident we can nail this for you. And this is a little HTML formatting for 2 line breaks to put it on the next line and then create a space. I'll send you some onboarding instructions plus a calendar in a moment, and we can then book a call to kick off the project. Talk soon. Thanks again, me. A little bit of formatting. It's going to look like this. Cool. So what we can do now is the only other thing we need is we don't have Brian's email in here. So we just need to come into options and go to email. Now we can drag the client email inside of here, and you can see we have this result, bjohnson@fakecompany.com. So we basically built this first section of the flow. So we can go ahead and I'll click save, and we can send this off. And I'll come in here, and it's going to wait the 5 seconds. It's going to create the email draft. And then if I come into my email over here and do this, Sent to, remember I sent another one earlier, but now we actually have, and you'll see the first one actually shouldn't have Brian Johnson's email address because remember we hadn't set that yet. But this one does. So we close this and we have to Brian. You can see his email is in here, bjohnson@fakecompany. Here's the subject, thank you and welcome aboard. Thanks for taking care of that invoice, et cetera, et cetera. We already read through this. Cool, so we are up and running. And again, this just shows your client that you're thinking about them. This is a great way to build trust right off the bat. So the next thing we do, come back into Make, we can reference this. So here I have this router. This actually isn't necessary. I just did this visually because I thought this was like a little bit nicer. You can kind of do stuff like this inside of N8N with like switch nodes or if nodes or things like that. It's honestly totally unnecessary. So I'm not even going to do that today. The next thing we do is we just wait for 3 more minutes and then we just send the next email. Nothing too complicated. So I can literally drag these. I can copy and paste both of these, right? I could create them new, but we don't need to. So I can just connect this up. We can say this is wait, again, 5 seconds. And this email, we're creating a new email draft. So basically the idea, right, is we wait 4 minutes after the invoice is received. We send them a little thank you note. And then from there, we send another follow-up email with some onboarding instructions. So we can go ahead and we can grab that from these onboarding instructions. We have the client email. We have the subject is just next steps. So let's go ahead and let's update this draft. So the subject here is next steps. And we just have new HTML. So come in here and I'll take this message. And we have this message and you can see we have this output. And so hopefully this time when I replace this, we want to go client first name. Great, execute previous node, that's fine. And this just says, thanks for following up on my last email. Our next step is booking an onboarding call. Oh, just following up on my last email. Our next step is booking an onboarding call. TLDR, automation services often involve a number of platforms, which can be logistically tricky to manage. Two-factor authentication, credential sharing, etc. So this part is actually really important. Yes, I'm just getting used to being in the chat. What's up, Damien? Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Getting used to being in the chat. Can you guys see the chat in the stream? Literally, I'm fairly new to live streaming. Is this cool to do in a video to actually chat? Okay, y'all can see me moving this around. That's funny. So yes, you can do this with other servers using an HTTP request. They may also have built-in modules, depending. Did I do that right? What happens if I do this? I don't know what the difference between these is. Great. Hey, Damien. Sorry to derail. I'm new to the chat. I got excited. Okay, great. Okay, two-factor authentication and credential sharing. This part is really important. This is an opportunity, again, for you to build trust and build your relationship with their client. This part, you will run into this over and over again if you're building out automations for clients, is that you're going to need their login info. You're going to need their API keys. You're going to need their credentials, right? You're going to need their passwords to stuff, right? And like, there is a level of trust that's involved in this if you're setting up systems for your clients, right? Especially if your clients aren't particularly tech savvy. Like, you're not just going to be handing off workflow JSONs and like telling them, here you go, like, good luck, right? Like, you're going to be setting this stuff up for them. So like getting on a quick 20-minute onboarding call to share that information back and forth, to level set with them, to tell them what to expect from, your working relationship. Like, there might be a time like, here, we can solve pesky two-factor authentication problems, right? So like, there might be a time where you're like calling your client or texting them like, hey, I need you to like tap yes on your phone right now, right? Like, that's me trying to log into your account. So just, again, like letting them know this is an opportunity for you to really quickly set up a face-to-face call to let your clients know that you're thinking about them and that they can trust you with their business. Cool. Great. And then we just have a little bit of HTML formatting. And this is just my calendar link, right? To book like a 1 hour or 30-minute kickoff call. I can't remember what I said it for. And this basically, it's just a hyperlink. The text says, do you mind booking a slot here? And it'll send them this link. And you'll see this in a second when we actually send the email. It just says, ideally, we do this in the next 72 hours or so, but I'm cognizant of your schedule. Let me know whenever works best for you. And if you need anything else in the meantime, thank you, me. Great. And so this is it, right? Let me see. To email. We still have the to email here. This is great. What's up, Avitude? Am I supposed to chat in the chat or chat out loud in person? What's up, Avitude? Hey, man. Great. Love this. Super awesome. Cool. So we can Now run this end to end, right? Like this is it. This is the automation. So let me come in here. Let me delete these 2 drafts so that we don't have them anymore. And let's go through the whole sequence. So cha-ching, boom, your payment comes through, right? And then this automatically kicks off the whole automation. In this case, we're waiting 4 minutes. We're creating that first email. We're waiting. We can come in here. We can go check this out. Thank you and welcome aboard. This is sending to Brian. We've already gone through this, right? What we haven't seen now is we should have another email that would be sent like a few minutes later, right? This is this next steps and follow-up email, right? Just following up on my last email. Our next step is booking an onboarding call. I don't need to read this all again, but again, now you can see this is that hyperlink. It says, do you mind booking a slot here? It's all nicely formatted with HTML. This is a link to the calendar, et cetera, et cetera. So your client can just book a call here. They don't have to respond to their email. They don't have to text you, call you, whatever. They can literally just book time on your calendar for you guys to get set up and get up and running and for you to start working for them. So if you found this video helpful, please make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you want to get more information and access to already pre-built automations, please hop into the SKOOL community. I'll leave a link in the description where you can join that. I have automations for N8N and make.com, all sorts of stuff for business owners and content creators to make more money, scale their business, and a growing community of people that I'm adding to all the time.